you style yourself an originalist, textualist, factualist, whatever the term is, which means you go right to the words and try to understand the words in their original meaning. And so if I changed Senator Feinstein's question and didn't ask you whether the president has the authority to unilaterally delay a general election, asked you instead, does the president have the authority to unilaterally deny the right to vote to any person based on their race? What would your answer be?
Well, Senator, obviously there are many laws in effect, including the Equal Protection Clause, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, including the 15th Amendment, which protects the right to vote against discrimination based on race. And so there's a principle in constitutional law called external constraints. And even if one evaluates what the authority a branch might have to act, there are external constraints that press in from other parts of the Constitution. Here, it would be the 14th and 15th Amendments.
Well, of course it would. The 15th Amendment, the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of race. For an originalist and a textualist, that is clear text as I see it. But when asked whether or not the president has any authority to unilaterally deny that right to vote for a person based on race or even gender, are you saying you can't answer that question?
Senator, I just referenced the 14th and 15th Amendments, the same one that you just repeated back to me, that do prohibit discrimination on the basis of race in voting. So as I said, I don't know how else I can say it, the Constitution contains provisions that prohibit discrimination on the basis of race in voting.
You're not going to win the argument. Come on. You're just not going to win the argument. It's like me, if I got on the tennis court with Nadal, right? We're both playing tennis, but we're playing at much different levels. And just listening to her answer the question and the way he's asking, like, oh, this, right? Agree with me. Well, no, it's a little more subtle. There's a little more nuance in it. And this is the framework for how you've got to address these issues. And it was like that throughout these hearings. And I enjoy it myself. Anyhow, let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, who's down in D.C., and Court TV anchor Michael Ayala, who I believe enjoyed it as much as I did. Chanley, let me ask you first to set the scene for today, which was day 3.
Right, I'm with you. I was fascinated watching the hearing the past 2 days, 20 hours worth of intense questioning for her. And really, it was intense inside that committee room, but outside, the passions were high. Yesterday, today, even to Monday, today outside, there was a little bit of a difference because as you can see right there, a group brought these giant banners, green banners, and they unfolded them and then they all took them down the road to the Capitol grounds and they laid them out on the lawn of Capitol Hill, right across the street from where the Senate Judiciary Committee is meeting with Amy Coney Barrett. And it says, let the people decide. And then they were chanting, let the people decide. Let's listen.
People decide. Let the 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 people decide.
They're meaning that they want the American people to decide the presidential election before filling the seat on the court left vacant by RBG. So that was the whole premise of them being out there. But I have to say also a big showing for supporters of Judge ACB, as I've been calling her. And they were out early every morning this week. Today they were on the side of the road right there. They had signs, fill the seat, and they were singing. We could play some of the songs. They were singing and waving to senators as they drove by.
That is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God.
later in the afternoon today, that group, but maybe some different ones, actually interrupted a anti-Judge ACB rally on the steps of the Supreme Court today. They had a big showing with those who think she's not appropriate for the Supreme Court justice seat, and that was sort of a dueling back and forth. We had those pro and anti going back and forth, but Vinny, under a presence of a lot of Capitol Police, everything was civil. Yeah,
which, during the summer of protests, not every protest went that way, but that's, things went very nicely. Is it just me, or is it predominantly women?
I noticed the same thing today, actually, and a lot of them are younger. Over the past couple of days, various ages, but today a lot of women, especially pro Amy Coney Barrett. A lot of the women that we spoke to over the last several days saying they admire her for being a mother of 7 and for being also a career woman, and that they admire her for her faith as a devout Catholic. And of course, the supporters, most of them that united the supporters were for the abortion issue, pro-life. And even though the anti-ACB opponents, I guess I should say, were also a lot of women as well, those who support abortion on demand and those that feel like RBG should be replaced by someone like-minded.
Michael, the other reason I love this process is it's the one time where people pay attention to that third branch of government, which is, this is what we do day in and day out for years and years and years, right? And now people are paying attention, which is nice to get that attention, that people, maybe they'll learn a little something and maybe they'll take it with them and understand the importance of judges, justices, courtrooms, and what we do every day here on Court TV.
Yeah, no doubt. First, let me say, Chanley, she hasn't quite earned the ACB thing yet, right? Because RGB took years to earn that. So let's slow our roll on that one. But let me tell you this, Vinny, absolutely right. I mean, one of the things that I think came through in this hearing is just what an effect this one person can have. Because now we're talking about shifting, and it's going to happen. I mean, there's no stopping it. It's a train that's coming into the station. They have the votes, not going to stop. So she is going to be an justice on the court. And that one change, shifting to that conservative majority, is going to make a lot of changes in the laws of the land. And that's what people are afraid of. And that's what the Democrats were hammering in on throughout the entire hearing. All the different laws that are going to be affected by this one person and their vote, if they vote according to what their history has been. So very, very important stuff, Vinny.
Oh, absolutely. And, you've got some people that's what they're afraid of, and you've got other people that's what they're excited about and anticipating. Here's something that I'm excited about. Let's take a listen to Senator Grassley asking a question that really hits home here.
But I've discussed cameras in the courtroom and introduced legislation on that over the last 15 years. It's not a very popular subject. Judge Souter joked that he'd have to roll over in his dead body before they'd put cameras on the Supreme Court. While I can respect that point of view, I totally disagree. Many of us believe that allowing cameras in the courtroom would open the courts to the public and bring about a better understanding of the judiciary. For many years, that bill that I've introduced has been called the Sunshine in the Courtroom Act, a bill to give judges the discretion to allow media coverage of federal court proceedings. I'm also a co-sponsor of Senator Durbin's bill to allow cameras in the Supreme Court. I understand that the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, where you currently serve, adopted procedures to allow requests for video recording of oral arguments, as well as public release of the recordings.
That's correct.
Has your court had any problems with these procedures? What are your views on allowing cameras in the courtroom? If confirmed, would you keep an open mind about allowing cameras in the Supreme Court?
I would certainly keep an open mind about allowing cameras in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, there's no valid argument against it. It's absurd at this point that there aren't cameras in the Supreme Court. So we're going to keep pounding that issue back and forth, and hopefully they make some sense. I mean, I remember when John Roberts came in as the Chief Justice, we thought, okay, yeah, maybe now, because he was open to it, but nothing's happened yet. We'll see. Chanley, have you had an opportunity to speak to any of the people on the street and get some reaction as to what they're hearing from inside the hearings?
Yeah, we actually spoke to a couple of people today and broached the issue about maybe how the Senate is asking her questions, how she's handling answering of the questions. And one of the questions we asked them is whether or not they truly believe, because we hear over and over again from Judge Amy Coney Barrett, I won't say ACB anymore, Michael, Amy Coney Barrett, that she will be unbiased, that she will take cases as they come, that she will set aside her personal convictions and be an impartial judge. So we went to the street to ask people if they agree that she will. So let's listen.
If you're going to try to affect the highest law of the land, then say your position. You've been saying it all of these for months and for years as you have ascended into the position that you're in. Why are you trying to deny your position to the people of this country?
I admire her so much for living her Catholic faith. I admire her and having a beautiful marriage and the mother of 7 children, and not only 5 of their own, but 2 adopted from Haiti, and being able to be a beautiful, wonderful mother and also to be a very skilled judge. I believe she's a very honest woman with high integrity. So I do, yes, I believe whatever she is expressing in the nomination hearings, I believe that to be the truth.
So as you can see, there are opinions on both sides of the fence, and I've noticed over the past several days, Vinny, that it's been equal numbers really that show up for or against Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
And Michael, the big takeaway from all of this, and it happens every time, is that the nominees do not commit. They don't give a preview of an opinion on any issue that could potentially be in front of the Supreme Court. And they're not supposed to, and they can't. And especially if you're a sitting judge on the circuit, you can't do that.
Yeah, you know, there's this Ginsburg rule that she kept citing, and I thought it was really genius on her part because she's using Ginsburg, who everyone sort of equally reveres. It's something that she said when she was on for confirmation. She basically said, you know, I can't, due to the Judicial Code of Ethics, these cases may come in front of me. I can't appear to be on one side or the other by making statements like that here. So that is a legitimate position. But I thought there were a couple of times today, Vinny, where she chose not to say things which I think spoke loudly, particularly when Kamala Harris was talking about climate change. And she asked her a couple of softball questions where she answered yes, you know, is race an important factor that you can't, inhibit rights? Yes, yes, yes. Then she said, is climate change real? And she just would not respond to that at all. She did commit to saying, I will look at the science, but she used the word substantive science. So I thought that spoke volumes. So if you pick apart, which is what we do, some of the things she didn't say, I think there was some communication there that we can see that this woman is going to have an effect. Now, I don't think there's any kind of malice here or there's anything that she's against certain types of people. I just think she has certain views, and those views are going to lead her to places where there's going to be more restrictions on, let's say, voting rights, abortion rights, and she's going to give more rights to the states to put restrictions on those things.
And it'll be fascinating. And really what this does, the person who is most affected by all of this is the Chief Justice. He loses all of his power because right now he's the most powerful person in the country as the swing vote, self-appointed swing vote, right? Because he came in, we thought he was conservative, but he's not. And he determines, because it's 4 on one, there was 4 on one side, 4 on the other side. And then the Chief Justice, I will make all the big decisions. And now, if everything plays out the way you're saying, Michael, and the way most people are thinking, he's irrelevant. He's now Mr. Irrelevant. You know, he can go on the liberal side of the court, whatever you want to call it, and he'll be for. He can be in the minority or he can be in the majority on those issues and cases that are split that way. Obviously, there are some that don't break down that way, but fascinating stuff. All right, Chanley, what's happening next?
All right, well, we're going to have another full day tomorrow, but without Amy Coney Barrett, we're going to hear from witnesses. Now, this is after a preliminary vote that the Chairman Graham, scheduled for in the morning. This is just an initial vote. The formal final vote will likely be a week from tomorrow to move her up from the committee to the full Senate floor for a vote. But tomorrow, there'll be 2 panels of witnesses, Vinny. The first panel involves 2 members of the American Bar Association Judicial Committee that will